Here's your host for this morning's edition of America's Fabric.
Good morning. I am Dr. Elizabeth Lee Valite. I'm an independent physician in private practice in Tucson and Dallas, and the author of several women's health books. My medical website is www.herplace.com. In recognition of Mother's Day, today's show is dedicated to and celebrates the inner strength, faith, mental fortitude, moral character, hard work, physical strength, and skills of the strong women who helped give birth to America as the great nation we have become since our ancestors landed at Jamestown in 1607. Sadly, there is another view of women in the news recently, epitomized by the recent PR campaign about a fictional, faceless, single woman named Julia, who grows from birth to old age with the government at her side for her entire life. Poor Julia is so helpless, she can't even focus on her work as a web designer without free contraceptives provided by the government to ease her worries. Then, in spite of free birth control, the hapless young woman gets pregnant, though without mention of husband or even boyfriend. Maybe this is more of a full-service government than even we have imagined. At every step of her life, Julia is lifted up and cared for by government handouts. Good times come from the government. Bad times are eased by government largesse. The message is clear. Without government, poor Julia could not succeed in life at all. I found this PR campaign incredibly offensive. My outrage stems from the fact that this campaign is really about a fundamentally demeaning view of women, that women are so helpless to be able to get through life that they need big daddy government to make it in the world. How incredibly, absolutely insulting to women. And coming from those who purport to be supporting women's issues. What hypocrisy. No wonder I was so deeply bothered by the ways women are undermined by this character and storyline. I began to think about the deeper questions raised by the life of Julia and how this relates to our founders' vision for America. I began to think about my own mother and grandmothers and the strength, independence, and courage of their lives. I began to think about my career in medicine that has focused on empowering women, not creating dependency. So to celebrate Mother's Day, I wanted to use this time to focus on the marked contrast between this poor, pitiful, helpless Julia, who doesn't take responsibility for anything in her life, versus the strong women who helped build America and weave the core values of America's fabric. To me, the Julia campaign raises a profoundly fundamental question for us all. Who decides your course in life? Your own creative spirit, mental energy, hard work, as our founders believed, or big government, as current leaders and progressives believe? The women who came to the New World 400 years ago were incredibly brave in facing unbelievable uncertainty, plus the mental and physical challenges of a long ocean voyage in a small, cramped, fetid, wooden sailing ship, without even the basics of food, shelter, and water waiting for them in the new land, or even readily available. They didn't know whether they would die of starvation, die of an Indian attack, or some strange new disease. Yet they dared to dream, dared to set off into the unknown, into a venture with no guarantees about whether they would even live or die, much less expect to receive government handouts for food, supplies, or housing. Yet they came. They kept coming for generations, looking for opportunity to succeed by their own efforts, not stand in line for a handout. They survived incredible hardships. They worked from dawn to dusk to build shelter, plant crops, harvest food to eat, sew clothes, haul water, clean up waste. Theirs was not an easy life. They persevered. They believed in success through their own efforts, and they worked to make it happen. It was strong women like these who helped build this country. My first ancestor came to Jamestown Island in 1608 and survived the starving times at Jamestown, when there was no game or fish or crops. They scavenged for acorns to grind and make meal, to thicken a broth of dandelion leaves just to survive. They survived Indian attacks. I am here today because one brave mother hid her child in a potato hole to avoid being killed by the Indians' attack on their early Virginia settlement. She died defending her home, but saved her child, who lived to carry on the family line. My ancestors, men and women, believed in the freedom to choose one's path in life, so they helped fight to free our colonies from the oppression of King George. My Quaker women ancestors in Virginia helped slaves escape to freedom on the Underground Railway out of their belief in God's gift of individual liberty for all men and women. When I was a child, I watched my elderly single great-aunts, strong, capable women all, as they plowed fields to plant gardens, then harvested and canned what they grew, raised and slaughtered chickens so they could eat. They hauled water from an outdoor well every day and chopped wood for the massive wood stove in the kitchen on which they cooked breakfast, lunch, and dinner every day of their lives. Contrast that list of tasks with our modern-day Julia, who has everything done for her through government benefits. Of course, government means paid for by taxes on someone else's work. My grandmother marched in the suffragette movement so that women could vote. Today, too many women are too busy to even take the time to vote, though they have far fewer daily tasks. My own mother became a single mother of 3 children when I was 12. She didn't turn to government handouts. She picked herself up, got her first job outside the home to earn money for us to live on. She went back to school to earn her college degree and then went on to earn her Master's of Science degree, all the while raising 3 children on her own, making our clothes, making our meals, and seeing that she was there for us with school and other activities. Then, beginning at age 60, when our dear Julia is settling back to laze out her days on Social Security and Medicare, my mother began researching and preserving the records of early Virginia families. Over the next 22 years before she died, she went on to research and write 17 books. Her efforts were a major force in preserving the records of early Virginia families so that all of us today would have a way to trace our ancestors back to the founding of this country. What a remarkable woman, and a far cry from the pitiful shell of a woman portrayed in this Julia campaign. From my adult and career perspective, I look back now on the lives of my grandmother and aunts and my mother and my patients. I marvel at the role models these strong women have given me for strength through adversity, perseverance through hard times, lack of complaints about the hand they were dealt, faith in God, and a belief in the power of their own hard work and initiative to solve problems and succeed in life. What a legacy! Our women ancestors were truly hardy souls. Their courage and strength has been passed down through our DNA to be woven into the entire fabric of America. That fabric, however, is becoming frayed today. America's fabric is being pulled apart by forces pushing to create a population feeding at the government trough instead of making their own way and succeeding on individual merit and effort. We're now subjected to a taxpayer-funded campaign to convince us that single women are so helpless they need the nanny state government to provide their every need so they can make it in the world. How absurd this is when you look at Julia in the context of our American history of strong women. American women worked alongside men to tame a new land, plow fields, build homes, plant gardens, sew clothes, haul water, cook meals, preserve food, tend to the sick. American women held families together through wars and depressions. They worked in factories to support the war effort in World War II, and they now fight alongside men in hostile lands around the globe so that other people may know freedom from tyranny and oppression. American women are not only mothers of their own children, they are mothers nurturing freedom for others. America's fabric is full of heroic women who took risk, made their way, and didn't turn to government handouts. Molly Pitcher stepped up to fire cannon in the Revolutionary War in place of her fallen husband. Other women dressed as men to help fight for freedom. Women helped free slaves during the war between the states and nursed the survivors of those battles. Women walked alongside the wagon trains in those long, hot dresses, enduring unbelievable hardship to settle the West. Women volunteered for support roles, even aviator roles, in World War II. Our history is filled with courageous, strong women who overcame major odds and hurdles to live the lives they chose, not ones handed to them by Big Daddy government. In the relatively short time since my grandmother's day, we have seen women earn the right to vote and move into fields of work formerly only available to men. In 1972, women represented only 9% of all medical degrees and 7% of all law degrees. By 2010, 48% of MD degrees and 47% of law degrees were awarded to women. Unlike the limited career options available to women when I was in college, today we have women in combat around the world, women as fighter pilots, women as ship captains, women in construction, women telephone linemen, women train engineers, women missile programmers, women in politics, medicine, and law. Women can still choose to be full-time homemakers, clearly a very demanding job in itself, or they can work in any field they choose outside the home. On the medical front, I have fought for patients' medical freedom to choose doctors and treatment options. I have worked to empower women psychologically and physically to be all that they can be. And I teach women to be in charge of their lives by taking steps to stay as healthy as possible at all ages of life. Women are now Fortune 500 CEOs, admirals and generals, presidents, prime ministers, and governors. Clearly, we are more than sex symbols, movie stars, or government puppets. Contrast the strong women we see all around us, free to choose any life path they wish, with this pathetic Julia. Julia's entire life, from early childhood to old age, is defined by her relationship with the government programs that sustain her. The cartoons depicting Julia's life make no mention of any relationship other than her relationship with the government. Not a husband, boyfriend, brother, sister, family, church, or community. All of the basic fundamental ties that we have in our lives that give us an anchor in times of trouble, a sharing in good times. Even her fatherless child is whisked away to be raised in government schools. The state has taken the place of all of the normal relationships in a healthy woman's life. Julia's life is really quite creepy, especially in comparison to the freedom women have earned in our country today. The portrayal of Julia's life regresses women to the oppression I saw in my visits to the Soviet Union and Eastern Europe in the 1970s. Every aspect of life was regulated by the communist state. This is exactly how communist countries like China promise to take care of their people if you're one of the politically chosen. If not, you may have your life cut off at any point the government wishes. As our founders realized, a government big enough to provide your every need is also powerful enough to take away your freedom and your life. For many of us, the life of Julia may seem like a ludicrous parody of modern women, almost a joke, but it is far from funny. The sad truth is that today, with the American family devolving rapidly into friends with benefits living arrangements and single women like Julia increasingly on their own, the lure of government assistance and someone to take care of me becomes increasingly tantalizing and seductive. The more that such policies and programs foster learned helplessness, as we see with Julia, the more we become incapable of taking care of ourselves. Beneath the surface of Julia's life, free of cares and worries, thanks to government benefits, is the ominous threat to the fabric of our country. The ideological view of modern liberalism that the goal of government is to take care of people from cradle to grave, after the state has decided whom it allows to live. That last statement is not so far-fetched in today's world of government choosing who lives, with free birth control, free abortions on demand, cutting back medical care for the elderly, and paying only for comfort care when the government decides you are too old or too sick to spend money for your treatment, thereby choosing when you die. These utopian promises indicate a Marxist ideology being foisted off on gullible women under the guise of protection. Marxist philosophy maintains control of people by fostering learned helplessness and dependency. This Marxist goal is the antithesis of the American values of individual liberty and merit as the basis for success, our concept of earned success. Earned success is the thread that weaves throughout the fabric of what has made America great and has held us together to become the strongest nation and creator of the greatest wealth for the most people that our planet has ever seen. Learned helplessness devalues life and the will to live and create. Instead, people dependent on government handouts become human cannon fodder to be manipulated by the elite in power. This characteristic is true of all totalitarian regimes throughout history. It has not worked. It does not work. These regimes have killed millions of people in the process of failing. The creators of Julia think women are too inept or stupid to understand the real goal of these freebies is government control and loss of freedom. In Julia's cartoon world, her creators achieved what many conservatives have failed to do, and that is clearly articulate the difference between the Great Society vision that modern progressives want for individual lives and our founders' vision of individual freedom to choose one's path in life and to succeed based on one's work, one's intellect, one's right to keep property, and one's personal values. These two extremes of vision could not be more clear. Our founders who believed in earned success, or modern liberal progressives who teach learned helplessness and dependency on government. The supposed war on women is not coming from those who support our founders' vision for America. It is coming from those who would kill our souls and initiative with the lure of a government nanny. The war that saps our creative spirit is insidious because we don't often realize we are trapped in the mental quicksand of learned helplessness until we are too far gone. Women, especially mothers, have always been the guardians of every nation's culture. Women pass on the traditions and standards from generation to generation. When mothers, who most closely mold the lives and character of each new generation, have succumbed to the temptations of the welfare state, then our nation's fabric will truly have been torn asunder forever. Those who value individual choice in life and who value the earned success model that made America great must offer an alternative vision for Julia's future. we need to emphasize how far women have come in just the last 100 years and the importance of sustaining our system based on earned success. Is this PR campaign about a helpless, passive, parasitic girl feeding from Big Daddy government hands a message that mothers today want for their daughters? I certainly hope not. America is symbolized by the forceful, strong image of Lady Liberty standing tall in New York Harbor as a beacon of not only freedom, but also strength of principle. Our icon of liberty is not a heroic warrior in armor with a sword raised on high. She is instead a strong woman in a flowing gown, holding the book of law, with torch uplifted, a beacon of hope and promise, a shining light for the future. Our system based on earned success will not defend itself. Lady Liberty's message is that we must use the tools of self-learning and the rule of law to remain free in mind and body. Every mother in every walk of life and every station of life takes her greatest pride in her role as mother, seeing that her children are imbued with values she holds dear. On this Mother's Day, let us celebrate our foremothers who helped give birth to liberty. Let it not be said that women's freedom died on our watch, or that we let our daughters think the chains of government control is a way to live life fully. Julia is not the answer. Mothers today cannot be spectators in the fight to preserve liberty for future generations. This is Dr. Valit signing off for today. You may enjoy the articles and podcast in my website, www.herplace.com. And next time, I will be talking about religious liberty and the role of our founder's vision in that arena as well. Until then, stay well and live free.
You've been listening to America's Fabric, a radio series on American history and culture, broadcast every Sunday over KVOI Tucson and its affiliates. Be sure to tune in again next Sunday morning at 8. Until then, never forget, it's the courage, knowledge, hard work, and respect for truth of Americans that keeps America free and prosperous. America's Fabric is listener-supported. To make a contribution, send a check to America's Fabric, Post Office Box 17356, Tucson, Arizona, 85731. That's P.O. Box 17356, Tucson, 85731. All contributions are tax exempt, and every contributor will be mailed a Grateful to be an American bumper sticker. To get more information on America's Fabric or to listen to previous broadcasts, go to americasfabric.com. That's americasfabric.com.